Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I am De Anggita from International Industry Engineering Program with my student ID 211411477. And today I'll be presenting on a topic that is both timely and also crucial for the future city, which is the Yogyakarta's about the Yogyakarta, which is the Yogyakarta public transportation system. And as we all know, that transportation plays a critical role in shaping the quality of life in our city. So in this presentation, I will explore the current challenges of Yogyakarta's transport infrastructure, evaluate its existing system, and also provide some recommendations uh, that are inspired by successful countries, which is the Taiwan and Singapore that I will take as for the example. And also my goal here is to foster a more sustainable, efficient, and also the inclusive transport system for Yogyakarta. So it can be a benefit for residents and also tourists alike. So before I'm going to give some recommendation, here is the introduction. So we know that Yogyakarta is one of the tourist destination in Indonesia. And however, it faces significant transportation challenges. And one of the most pressing issues is the heavy reliance on private vehicle. So this over dependence has created substantial traffic congestions, increased air pollution, and also contributed to inefficient movement within the city. And the main issue here is the inadequacy of public transportation options coupled with limited pedestrian infrastructure. So in these presentations, I aim to propose innovative and also the practical recommendations that can help reduce our reliance on the private vehicle and also transitions toward a more sustainable public transportation system. And this is my outline for this presentation. So I will start by identifying the key issues contributing to Yogyakarta transportation challenges. Then I'll assess the current state of public transport system already in place, including the strength and also the weaknesses. And from there, I'll take a closer look at successful international examples, which is the Taiwan and Singapore, to understand how others country have solved similar problems. And finally, I will present tailored recommendations for Yogyakarta, outlining practical steps we can take to address these issues and improve our public transportation system. So before we're going to the recommendations, we should know what's the problem in Yogyakarta. And one of the central issues Yogyakarta face is its overwhelming reliance on private vehicles. So this stems from the lack of viable alternatives, and people often choose private vehicle because public transportation is seen as unreliable and also limited. So the first problems in here is the lack of reliability in the existing public transportation system, particularly in the bus services. I think the bus in Yogyakarta frequently suffer from unpredictable schedules, so it causes long waiting time for passengers, and this unpredictability discourages people from using public transportation regularly as they cannot rely on it to get them to their destination on time. And moreover, during the peak hours, the buses are often overcrowded, leading to an uncomfortable experience for riders. So without consistent and reliable service, I think it will be difficult to build public trust in the system, and people will continue to prefer using their private vehicles other than the uh, public transportation. And this is the second problem related to the accessibility. It's about the limited coverage and also the distance between bus stop. So in here, especially in the suburban and also rural areas, while in Yogyakarta is served by the Trans-Jogja bus system, many outer regions of the city remain underserved, and the distance between bus stops in this area can be quite long and making it difficult for residents to access public transportations. And that situation forces many people to rely on the private vehicles to commute to and from the city center, further contributing to traffic congestions. So the limited rates of public transportations also discourage people from living in the suburbs, which could otherwise alleviate with housing density in the city. And the third problem is about the lack of transportation options that I made a picture is about Trans-Jogja commuter line. And also we have Gojek and Grab actually in Jogja, but because of it can be one of the problem because of the cost using the Grab and Gojek, it also quite low, so people oftenly not really use the public transportations, and there is no other public transportation option like the bike shared, scooter shared. So they choose the private vehicle other than public transportation because of the cost. And here there is also the pedestrian unfriendliness because I've experienced it's hard for us to find like pathways in Yogyakarta make us feel unsafe if we just want to walk in the public places or just having short trips. And the fourth problem is related to the time saving and flexible scheduling because if we choose between using the public transportations and also private vehicle, of course, if we saw from the time point of view, it will be more quicker. It's two-way quicker than using the public transportation because if we choose from place A to the place B, for example, using the bus stops, and we need to walk more because there is no other options like bicycle. So I think the convenience and flexibility being one of the problem because of the time saving. And the last problems that I'm gonna share is about the integration issues. Is the first point is the poorly integrated transport system, and also the second is ticketing complications. So currently, there is a little coordinations between the bus and train system, and also transferring between different modes can be confusing and time consuming. For example, if someone wants to switch from a bus to a train, they often need to purchase separate tickets and also navigate different schedule, which adds complexity to their trips. So this lack of integration not only discourages the use of public transportations, but also makes the system less efficient overall. So I think for effective transportation, they can implement some integration issues and that I can be explained in the next slide. One of the example that can be our role model for Yogyakarta cities is about Taiwan. So the first is about the dedicated bike lane. So in here, the bicycle riders, it feel more safe because they have their own lanes for cycling. And the second is the bike parking stations, which is have the relations with the integrated cycling public transportation. So for the bike parking, we can just easily find um, anywhere for the bike parking stations. And also the bike parking stations usually placed near the bus stations and also the high traffic areas. So for those people who just use the bus or maybe just use the train, they can have another options for another short trips other than using the private vehicle. So they can just have a bike parking, the bike options for another options, and also it's quite low cost. And from my experience in here, if I use the bike like less than 30 minutes, it just cost me zeros NTD Taiwan dollars. So it can be one of the example for the government to make some of the bike stations because it's not electric. So I think for making under the 30 minutes using uh zero money, I think it will be one of the better solutions. And also the walkable city design and also the smart ticketing. So walkable city design is like just for the pathways um for all people in Yogyakarta so they feel safe just walking in the public areas. On the smart ticketing here is related to the unified card. So we can have a card, we can just top up on it. Like for example, we top up 100,000 rupiahs and we without any checking of schedules using public transport, we can just scan it for all transportation modes without have appointment for this ticket, this schedule. So I think the unified card, it can be one of the better solutions for Yogyakarta. And the next is the Singapore. I provide frequent and reliable bus services, less the connectivity and also smart ticketing and subsidized fares. Because for the smart ticketing is quite similar with the Taiwan and subsidized fares, they have a program for subsidize the fares for all the Singaporean, and also the last mile connectivity is related to the station like bus station that can be placed near the high and also the frequent and reliable bus services in here because they also provide some digital tracking and also real-time tracking on the application. So most people in Singapore can have a trust on public transportations without any uncertainties on of time. So based on that, I also provide some evaluations for these three public transportation in Jogja. For the first, it's about the train. So it's hard for people in the Yogyakarta because mostly the train is just for intercity travel and also station accessibility. And the second is the Trans Jogja. We know that there is an infrequent service because of the distance of bus station is quite far, and also the road availability is hard for us to have information for the route and also for the time, like the delay time. And also the traditional vehicle, we know that in Jogja we have a becak and andong, but it's quite time consuming because I think people more choose like which one is quicker with the low cost, so people just have a private vehicle other than the traditional vehicle. So based on those problems and also evaluation, so this is my first recommendations is the sidewalks and also pedestrian pathways. So the first is construct sidewalks along major and frequently used roads and also create pedestrian only zones in high traffic areas. So here is by creating pedestrian only zones in busy areas and constructing proper sidewalks along major roads, I think it can make walking a safer and more attractive option for short trips. And the second recommendations is about the bicycle rental system. So I also proposed introducing a bicycle rental system that could offer both conventional and also electric bus with rental station placed strategically near the bus stops, market, and other like key location. And the third recommendation is about the timely and frequent bus services. We can see from the Singapore, they develop the digital tracking for the people and also real-time tracker for people who want to check which bus that they're gonna use, because I think it will make and put a lot of trust to the more people. And the fourth recommendation is about the infrastructure and cost, because I think we should start from the infrastructure first, like the parking area strategically, red facilities, like more option like bicycle, e-scooter shared. I think that can be one of the better solutions, and also integration with other public transportation, and also this one, set affordable rental rates. Like maybe they can make a program like if you use it more than less than 10 minutes or 20 minutes, you can have zero rates and zero cost for that for the traditional bicycle, because it will not um, take another cost for electric. And the last recommendation is about the smart ticketing. So this one is make people more easily to use all the public transportation, because they already have the bus, has bus station, and they're gonna make a bicycle. So they just use that one card to use all the transportation modes. I think that could be also one of the best solution for this. And from all of my explanation, I think to summarize, because of the problem is the Yogyakarta depends on the private vehicle stems from unreliable, limited, and poorly integrated public transportations. So I have 5 key recommendations for improving Yogyakarta public transportation system. Like the first, build safe and functional pedestrian pathways. Second, introduce a bicycle rental system to provide more mobility options. And third, implement frequent and reliable bus services to improve the public trust in the system. The fourth, develop the park and also ride facilities to encourage commuters to use public transport. And finally, adopt a smart ticketing system to integrate all modes of transport into a single user-friendly network. So by taking those steps, I hope it can create a more sustainable, efficient, and also inclusive public transportation in Yogyakarta. So I think that's all from my explanations for the Yogyakarta public transportations. And if you have any question, I'll happy to answer it.
Yeah, I do have a questions. And thank you so much for your presentation. So my question is, uh, I believe that right now, even in Yogyakarta, the government is still working on their public transportation nonstop so that they can provide the best public transportation for the people. So my question is, why has Yogyakarta struggled to develop a reliable public transportation system, even though they are always working on it. And uh, in your opinion, how can we, the Yogyakarta, learn from the lesson from Taiwan and Singapore public transportation system so that Yogyakarta finally can address their issue?
Okay, thank you, Evelyn, for your questions. So for the first, why has Yogyakarta struggled to develop reliable public transportation? I think because Yogyakarta has faced several challenges in developing a reliable public transportation. So the heavy reliance on private vehicles of people, it stems from various factors like maybe the inconsistent bus schedule, the limited coverage, and also lack of integration among different transportation modes that I have explained before. I think those issues make the public transportation inconvenient, so people just choose the private vehicles other than the public transportations, especially for those living in the rural areas. I think it's not that really rich for public transportation like Trans Jogja. And for the second question, I think lessons from the Taiwan and Singapore, it can significantly improve Yogyakarta public transportation system, like their bike lanes into smart ticketing and also another transportation options. I think by adopting this approach, such as implementing real-time tracking apps also, I think that can build trust for more people and would make Yogyakarta public transport more um like accessible and also attractive for people in Yogyakarta. I think that's my answer. Is it answering your question, Evelyn?
Yeah, thank you, dear.
Thank you. Any other question?
Okay, dear, I want to ask another question. Okay, so it's related to the infrastructure in Yogyakarta. So, what is the most critical infrastructure in Yogyakarta to reduce the reliance on the private vehicles? And then, how can this recommendation can be implemented effectively?
Okay, Lintang, thank you for the questions. I think the most critical infrastructure improvement, including the building sidewalks, enhancing bus services, and also integrating public transport with other modes like bicycle. I think by constructing pedestrian-friendly zones is essential, as the current unfriendliness towards pedestrian discourages walking as like option, and also by creating these dedicated sidewalks and pedestrian-only areas in tight traffic zones, I think walking would become a safer for and more appealing mode of transportations for people in Yogyakarta. And I think by improving the bus services, like by offering more frequent schedules, even during non-peak hours, I think it would address issues of reliability and also accessibility, like digital tools, like we saw from the Singapore, the real-time tracker, it will be one of the tool that can build the people trust. So by implementing also the smart ticketing, like my last recommendations, I think it would make the overall experience more convenient for users, like incentivizing them to leave like their private vehicle. So that's for my answer, Lintang. Is it answering your question?
Yes, dear, thank you.
Okay, I think since there is no other questions, thank you for your attention and see you.